Have you ever wondered what $1 of your federal taxes actually pays for? In this video, we're going to take $1 of federal spending and follow it through the US budget. By the end, you'll know exactly where that dollar goes. Before we break down the dollar, there's one important thing to understand. In most years, the federal government spends more money than it collects in taxes. That difference is called the budget deficit, and it is covered by borrowing. So when we talk about $1 of federal spending, we are not saying that dollar came directly from your paycheck. With that context in mind, let's begin. Out of every $1 the federal government spends, about 24 cents goes to health insurance programs. This makes healthcare the largest single category in the federal budget. Most of this money does not go to government-run hospitals. Instead, it helps pay medical bills through insurance programs. The largest of these is Medicare. Medicare primarily covers people aged 65 and older, as well as some people with disabilities. It helps pay for hospital stays, doctor visits, prescription drugs, and private Medicare Advantage plans. Next is Medicaid, which is funded jointly by the federal government and the states. Medicaid provides health coverage for low-income families, children, pregnant women, seniors who need long-term care, and people with disabilities. The federal government helps states pay these costs by matching a portion of their spending. Another part of this category goes to Affordable Care Act subsidies. These subsidies lower insurance premiums and reduce out-of-pocket costs for millions of people who buy insurance on the private market. So when we say 24 cents, we are really talking about doctor visits, hospital care, prescription drugs, and long-term medical support. This share has grown over time as healthcare costs rise and the population gets older. Next, let's look at Social Security. Out of every $1 the federal government spends, about 21 cents goes to Social Security. Social Security is not a single program. It is a system of monthly cash benefits paid to Americans who qualify. The largest group of recipients is retired workers. After paying into the system during their working years, retirees receive monthly payments to help cover basic living expenses like housing, food, and utilities. Another major part of Social Security goes to people with disabilities. These benefits support individuals who are unable to work due to long-term medical conditions and who meet strict eligibility requirements. Social Security also provides survivor benefits. These are paid to spouses, children, and sometimes parents after a worker dies. For many households, these payments help prevent sudden financial hardship during an already difficult time. Social Security is funded primarily through payroll taxes, which are deducted from workers' paychecks and matched by employers. Even though it has its own funding source, Social Security still represents a large share of total federal spending. As the population ages and more people retire, the cost of Social Security increases. People are also living longer, which means benefits are paid out for more years than in the past. Because of this, Social Security plays a growing role in the federal budget and in the financial security of millions of Americans. In short, this 21 cents of the federal dollar helps provide income stability for retirees, people with disabilities, and families who have lost a loved one. Now let's look at national defense. Out of every $1 the federal government spends, about 13 cents goes to defense. This part of the budget funds the U.S. military and related national security activities. A large share of defense spending goes to military personnel. This includes pay for active duty service members, health care and housing allowances, and retirement benefits earned through service. Another major portion goes to operations and maintenance. This covers training, fuel, equipment repairs, base operations, and the day-to-day costs of keeping the military ready. Defense spending also includes weapons and equipment. This means purchasing aircraft, ships, vehicles, missile systems, and other military hardware, as well as maintaining and upgrading older systems. A smaller but important share goes to research and development. This funds new technologies, cybersecurity capabilities, space-related programs, and advanced defense systems designed to address future threats. National defense also supports a global presence. It pays for overseas bases, alliances with other countries, and operations intended to deter conflict and respond to emergencies. Although defense is often the most talked about part of the budget, it is not the largest category. Spending on healthcare and social security is significantly higher. Still, defense remains one of the largest areas of spending that Congress actively debates and controls each year. In short, this 13 cents of the federal dollar pays for the people, equipment, and operations that make up the United States military and defense system. Now let's talk about interest on the federal debt. Out of every $1 the federal government spends, about 13 cents goes to interest payments. This money does not fund programs or services. It does not pay for healthcare, education, roads, or national defense. Instead, it pays interest to investors who hold U.S. Treasury securities. These investors include individuals, pension funds, banks, foreign governments, and even parts of the U.S. government itself. Interest payments exist because the federal government has spent more than it collected in taxes over time. Each year of deficits adds to the total national debt, and that debt requires interest to be paid. Unlike most parts of the budget, interest costs are largely automatic. Lawmakers do not vote each year on how much interest to pay. The amount is determined by two things: how much debt exists and what interest rates are. When either one rises, interest costs rise as well. As a result, interest has become one of the fastest growing parts of the federal budget. This means a growing share of federal spending is devoted to paying for past decisions rather than current priorities. In practical terms, this 13 cents of the federal dollar represents money that is already committed. It limits how much flexibility the government has when deciding how to spend future budgets. Next, let's look at veterans benefits and federal retirement programs. Out of every $1 the federal government spends, about 8 cents goes to this category. This spending reflects long-term commitments to people who served in the military and to civilians who worked for the federal government. A large portion of this money goes to veterans benefits. This includes disability compensation for veterans who were injured or became ill during their service. It also includes health care provided through the Department of Veterans Affairs, such as hospital care, mental health services, and treatment for service-related conditions. Some veterans also receive pension benefits, particularly those with limited income or who served during specific periods. Another part of this spending goes to retirement benefits for former federal employees. These are pensions earned by civilian workers and military personnel who spent their careers working for the federal government. These benefits are paid after retirement and are separate from Social Security, though many retirees receive both. Much of this spending is considered mandatory. That means it continues automatically each year based on eligibility and benefit formulas, rather than being decided annually by Congress. As veterans age and as federal retirees live longer, these costs tend to rise gradually over time. In short, this 8 cents of the federal dollar supports medical care, disability benefits, and retirement income for millions of veterans and former federal workers. It represents a promise made by the government to care for those who served and those who dedicated their careers to public service. Now let's look at economic security programs. Out of every $1 the federal government spends, about 7 cents goes to this category. These programs are designed to provide basic support when people face financial hardship. One major part of this spending goes to nutrition assistance. This includes programs like food assistance that help low-income households afford groceries and basic meals. Another portion goes to unemployment benefits. These payments provide temporary income to people who lose their jobs while they search for new work. Economic security spending also includes housing assistance. This helps eligible families and individuals pay rent or avoid homelessness during periods of financial instability. Some funds go toward energy and utility assistance, helping households cover heating or cooling costs, especially during extreme weather. This category also includes refundable tax credits. Programs like credits for low-income workers and families can result in tax refunds even if no income tax is owed. Unlike many other parts of the budget, economic security programs tend to change with the economy. When unemployment rises or incomes fall, spending in this category increases. When the economy improves, these costs usually decline. In short, this 7 cents of the federal dollar acts as a safety net. It helps stabilize households during difficult times and supports basic needs until people are able to regain financial stability. Finally, we come to the last portion of the dollar. Out of every $1 the federal government spends, about 14 cents goes to everything else. This category includes a wide range of programs that don't fit into the larger buckets, but still affect daily life in important ways. Part of this spending goes to education and job training. This includes funding for K to 12 education support, student financial aid, job training programs, and programs that help workers gain new skills. Another portion goes to transportation and infrastructure. These funds help build and maintain highways, bridges, public transit systems, airports, and ports. Some of this money goes to scientific and medical research. Federal funding supports research on new medicines, public health, space exploration, energy technologies, and basic science that drives innovation over time. This category also includes law enforcement and the justice system. That covers federal courts, prisons, investigative agencies, and efforts to enforce federal laws. Spending on environmental protection and agriculture is included here as well. This means managing public lands, protecting air and water quality, supporting farmers, and responding to natural disasters. It also includes international affairs. This covers diplomacy, foreign aid, and humanitarian assistance. Despite common beliefs, foreign aid makes up only a very small portion of this part of the budget. Although each of these programs receives a relatively small share on its own, together they make up many of the services people interact with every day. In short, this 14 cents of the federal dollar funds the government's core operations, public investments, and long-term priorities that shape economic growth and quality of life. So what does this $1 breakdown actually tell us? First, it shows that most federal spending is already committed. Large portions of the budget go to healthcare programs, Social Security, veterans benefits, and interest on the national debt. These are not short-term programs. They are long-term obligations that continue automatically each year. Second, it shows that interest costs matter more than many people realize. Money spent on interest does not provide services or benefits today. It pays for borrowing from the past, and it reduces the amount of money available for new priorities in the future. Third, it shows that many programs people debate most, education, infrastructure, research, and foreign aid, make up a relatively small share of total federal spending. That does not mean they are unimportant. It means changes to these areas alone cannot significantly alter the overall budget without addressing the larger categories. This breakdown also helps explain why federal budget debates are often difficult. Reducing spending in a meaningful way usually requires changes to large, popular programs. At the same time, expanding new initiatives often means higher taxes, more borrowing, or cuts elsewhere. In short, this $1 view gives us clarity. It doesn't tell us what policies are right or wrong, but it does show where the money actually goes. Understanding that reality is the first step toward having informed discussions about the future of government spending. I hope this video answered your question. Thank you for watching.